Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Ignite Learning, Unleashing Curiosity, Creativity, and Critical Thinking in Your Classroom, all focused around AI. So we're going to jump in and get started. My name is Jamie, and I'm super excited that you are here joining in for this hot topic. We have lots to talk about today, and I'm super excited to get going on it. Let me go back a slide here. So just a couple things as we do get started. There will be a recording of this sent to you following the webinar. So if you are wishing to revisit the content, you may do that through the recording, or I should say, and we also have a hyperdoc that will be sent your way. And that will have a list of, in a description of all the resources that you see today, or the ideas. And that will be linked out within that hyperdoc, but also the presentation. So all the slides you see today will be available for you as well. And getting that to you is Robin. Robin is joining us as well today. Robin, do you want to say hi?
Of course. Happy fall, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Robin. So Robin's kind of in the background today with any tech issues, if we have them, hopefully not, but she's also there to send us the links and do the polls as we go about our half hour together. So thanks, Robin. So I just want to start by talking about our sponsor today. Our sponsor is Science on the Grand. Science on the Grand is a STEAM conference, for those who may not be familiar with it, that we host right here at the Andel Institute. It is a wonderful conference for K-8 educators and admin who want to know more or get more knowledge on STEM and AI. So we hope that you can join us. It is July 14th and 15th this year. And so if you register using the code Thank you, it's thank-you, you get 20% off your registration. So reach out if you're interested. There are some QR codes there that could help you get that information for later. But it's just a wonderful conference. It's 2 days of inspiration, fun, and really validation for all the wonderful work that you do as educators. And we couldn't do this thing that we do without you. So that's our way of showing our appreciation for you is through the work that we do. And one of those ways is at Science on the Grand. So we'd love to see you there this summer. I would like to know who's out there today. So Robin's going to pull that first poll for us today. What grades of students do you teach? Are you lower elementary, K2? Are you upper elementary, 3-5, middle school, 6-8, high school, 9-12, or maybe your other admin? Go ahead and take a moment to fill that out. And Robin, when you think those results are in, feel free to send that our way.
All right, let's give it 3 to 5 more seconds here as they keep rolling in.
This will help us gauge our conversation too as we figure out who's here. Go ahead, Robin.
All right. So it looks like leading the pack, 38% is middle school, followed by 29% high school, 24% lower and upper L, and then 19% other and admin.
Okay. Great, a great mix of a little bit of everybody today. So awesome. So I think you're going to find, again, as I mentioned, there's a lot to cover today in a very short amount of time, but everyone here will, I hope, walk away with something useful that they can do with their students or give to their teachers to use with their students. So I really want to focus today, though, because we have such a short amount of time, around one resource. So ChatGPT, and those of you that have had moments to dive into some AI work probably have done it through ChatGPT. I think it's a wonderful resource. It's probably one that I rely upon 99% of the time for anything that I need. I love it because it's free, and I find it to be just probably the most reliable, as I mentioned, information. So today, everything you see will be from ChatGPT. Just a side note, there's another great one for school, and I'll just mention it. If you want to know more information on it, you can feel free to email me. But School AI is another one that I absolutely love. There's a free and a paid version. But today, we're just going to be solely talking about ChatGPT. So we'll get rolling. I want to start the conversation just talking about why AI. And so we know it's out there. We know it's coming for all of us in a sense, but we want to find ways that we can really use it that supports the work that we're doing with our students. So a couple main points here. So first of all, we know it's nearly unavoidable. If we think about when calculators came out, or that maybe back in the 70s, I believe, when they started becoming more common, there was fear over using them because it was like, oh, well, students can just type it on the calculator and get a response really quickly. Fast forward to today, it's very much the same with AI. We know that now calculators we use every day, and they make us more efficient as humans. And I really like to look at AI that way as well. It's just something that's going to make us more efficient in our teaching and our students' learning. And we know we can talk ethics, and that's a whole different webinar. We're not going to go there today, but we are going to talk about the ways that can really be helpful for us. So, and one of those ways is that it makes teaching and learning better. I think I always say if there's one gift I could give teachers, it's the gift of time. And so with that in mind, AI is the closest I can get to giving teachers that gift, because it really does provide quick and effective solutions to some of the problems in education that we come out in our day-to-days, right? Our classroom things that come up. We can find answers and solutions to those things that might have taken us days to develop before can now happen in an instant. So it's also, we have creation at our fingertips, right? So there's so many things that it can do if we just ask it to do it for us. And so we're going to walk through a lot of those ways coming up here. I always like to start this conversation though by knowing that because there is a right and wrong way to do everything, essentially. So with AI though, it's good that our students know how to use it most effectively. And so this is a resource that we created for students, for you to give to your students. And it just sets up these scenarios where setting the stage for students to see if this is a good scenario to use it. They rate it, is it an acceptable way or an unacceptable way? And so that's a resource. Feel free to use this one with your students as you dive into exploring AI in your classroom. I also want to say on that note that everything you see today is something you would put in front of you as the teacher and not necessarily in front of your students. So everything you see will be prompts that you put in to receive information that you need. So that'll make more sense as we go about our time together. I love also opening up with this quote: use change as an opportunity to make learning better. And if you haven't had an opportunity yet to read the book Because of a Teacher, first of all, you all need to feel validated. I think read this book. It makes you feel really good about the job you do and how essential you are. But this quote came right out of it. So George Couros, great author, great presenter, great thought leader. Check that out. But I do think AI gives us that opportunity to make learning better. And so learning to embrace it is a step in itself, but I think it's a step in the right direction. It's a step it's unavoidable, as mentioned. But I want to throw it out there to you. I'm just curious, as we go about today, how often do you use ChatGPT today? Maybe you've never used it at all. So 1 would be never used it, all the way up to 5 where you use it all the time. So go ahead and maybe you're somewhere in the middle, likely, but go ahead and fill it out and let me know how much you've used ChatGPT specifically. And then Robin, whenever you feel like those results are rolling in, feel free to share those with us.
All right, closing it out.
Great.
All right, it looks like, wow, we have 36% in the middle at
Good.
3. Followed closely by 32% at never used it, followed 18% use it all the time. And then 2 and 4 kind of have just a couple numbers. So really that middle, top and bottom are covered the most.
Okay, awesome. Actually, it's really good to know, because I think I love that there are people here that have never even went to the site before. That's amazing. I think I hope you see today how easy it is to use, and I hope it maybe encourages you to jump out there and just use it. It could even be as simple as putting in, give me a recipe for tonight's dinner. It'll give you something. So we'll get into that in a moment. But for those of you that have had some experience with it, I think you'll also find this really helpful, because these are we're focusing on curiosity and critical thinking mainly, and also just thinking about how and creative and ways that we can use it creatively too. So we'll kind of section it off in those 3 buckets today. So you'll find probably new ways that you haven't even thought about using before. So something for everyone, as I mentioned. And with that, we'll jump into our first section here, which is using AI to foster creativity. So I think this is a great kind of intro, right? At the beginning of the school year, and maybe it's right now, that's okay, but doing these interest inventories, and a lot of us do these every year with our students, where we just give them some questions to answer to get to know them a little better. So this is an idea that I think is really creative, and it's a fun spin on that. So you do your normal interest inventory as you would, maybe it's through a Google form or however it is. But then what you do is you put your students' answers into ChatGPT to create name tags. So we call this novel name tags, and I get really cheesy. You're going to see every title has AI somewhere in it, so that's why you see name spelled incorrectly. But novel name tags is a great little play on getting to know your students, and then having them, once you have this input this information, you've printed these out, ask students, who do you think this image represents? This is great for them to get to know each other in a different kind of way, right? They're just seeing a visual image of it rather than telling it to a student to get to know them better. So that's a fun little play on name tags and getting to know students a little better. Another idea here is something we call tandem tales, and this is where you start a story and you prompt ChatGPT to play along with you. So I put in what you see here, where it says you. I'm going to start a story, then I want you to add the next part to the story. I will respond to your part by adding a new part, then you will respond to the part by adding the next part. So you get it back and forth, back and forth. So ChatGPT said, "Yeah, sounds fun, the creative activity." So I started the story. Once upon a time, a quiet girl named Rebecca lived in a bustling city, wanted to try something new. So then I left it there and I hit send, and it came back with a next part. And so then I could, again, imagine putting this in up on your screen for students. You could have students select what we put in next. So you could see this back and forth happening, and it kind of leaves on an open-ended, what do we do next, right? Or what do I write next? And so we could keep going. It responded, I responded back. And so we could continue this story, right, until I say we're done, right, and say end of story. And it's really good with recognizing that and then putting an end to that story. So that's one fun way that we can use AI, kind of a back and forth. Another way, many of you might remember those wonderful chapter books, Choose Your Own Adventures. Well, AI can do that too. So you could put in a prompt simply like, my class of 11th graders is learning about the last frontier. I want to create a story about a real person who made an important, difficult decision. And you want that story to be left on a cliffhanger where your students have to make a decision. So there is a prompt. And so I want to point this out as a side note. If ever you see one of these that says Choose Your Own Adventure and there's prompt at the end of it, if you click on that in the slides presentation, it'll take you to a prompt where you could just copy that, fill it in with your parts to make it customized for you and your student needs, and then paste that into ChatGPT, and it'll produce what you see in front of you. So, but just tied to what you put in for it. You can kind of see how this played out. So a great fun way, again, I could be really specific by saying I want to make the story no more than 400 words. And however, I will tell you, the more specific you are, the more detail forward you are, the better its responses. And so feel free to be really detailed in your descriptions there. But again, you can see the story lays out. It does it on an 11th, like an 11th grader could read this and understand it and play off of it. So again, a wonderful way for learning content that maybe is not that interesting to all of our students. Maybe this is a way that we can kind of hone in on their interest by creating a story or a setup in this way. Another idea is Mad Libs. Again, you probably remember those fun little games you used to play maybe in the car or when you're just sitting at home trying to figure out something to do. Mad Libs are awesome and kids love them. And so now we can turn this task over to ChatGPT. Instead of us generating our own Mad Libs activity sheet, we could ask ChatGPT to create a Mad Lib style passage for whatever grade level. It'll make it in that context. Using certain vocabulary words. So whether we have spelling words or vocabulary words, we can build it around that. So you can see that those words are listed there and what it produced after. So again, we could just copy and paste this into a worksheet that's maybe a little more readable for our first graders, and print it off and then have them have some fun with it, just like we used to. At least I know I did. Another thing I love is this idea of lyrical learning. I'm a big Swiftie, and so I challenged ChatGPT to come up with a song for our fourth graders about adding fractions to the style of a specific Taylor Swift song. I didn't even say a song. I just said any Taylor Swift song, but a specific one. And you could see here it came up with Add It Up to the tune of Shake It Off. Maybe some of you are out there singing it right now, but you can see the lyrics talk to the idea of adding fractions. Now, maybe you're on the other side of things or you're a little Kanye fan. I asked ChatGPT to generate a rap about vectors and trigonometry in the style of Kanye West. And sure enough, it came up with some verses that go along with that theme. And so again, it's wild what it can do. Again, you have to kind of go through and look at them and see if that's really what you were looking for, but powerful nonetheless. So that's another fun way. And then again, asking students, how could you make these better? That's always a great fun activity. That's a critical thinking activity, actually. It takes it out of that creative realm and puts it into the critical thinking realm. What could you do to make this better? Comparing, comparing either both the songs or just one of them. But again, a great critical thinking task. We're going to see you visit that one again later. Another strategy we love is a story bot. And so we can have ChatGPT act as a story bot. And so we can have, and I could tell Storybot that what its job is to do. So it's to explain everything in the form of a story, even the most complex of topics. So maybe if some of my students are understanding like that text heavy kind of textbook wording of nonfiction that we're reading, we could have them turn into a story that's a little bit more engaging for our learners. And so I just said that I would like it to be around the learning standard, and I put in the exact learning standard that I wanted it to be around. And so again, it said sure, and it reminded me that it was aware of what that learning standard was, and then it came up with a story. So there's lots of ways, and you could see here's all, this is all of the ways it came up with to generate the story about, they called the tale of tiny cells and the great organism kingdom. And so wonderful way to get my students who might be in that sciencey topic interested, because it's set up like a story. That's another fun way. Now we're going to move on now into our next section, and there are so many, again, there's so many more things we could talk about on creativity, but we'll move into curiosity now, using AI to foster curiosity. You'll also notice that a lot of these just pair, right? They all kind of tie together. They're all kind of creative. They're all kind of curiosity driven. They're all kind of make you do some critical thinking, but we sectioned off this way because they're heavy in that one category. But a scavenger hunt, again, really fun way to keep kids curious. I love this for, you know, those younger students that we have that we may want them to be learning. We know that moving is one of the best ways for us to survive as teachers, but also to keep them engaged and happy as learners. And so we could tell them the spaces that we have around our classroom and that we want to create a scavenger hunt that's math based, right? And so we can be, like, again, as specific as we want, the better. But then I just told them the spaces that we had in my classroom, and then it built the scavenger hunt around that. And it actually told me where to put the clue, what the answer was, and then where I should place the next clue. So we can kind of see how that plays out here. And again, you can get a deeper look as you investigate these slides later. But I love this idea. And you could really do this for anything with just a little prompting. Another idea is this curiosity quest. So again, I put in my middle school students will be asking you questions about topics that they're curious about. After they ask you a question, give them an appropriate answer, then prompt them to ask you another related question. So it's a curiosity question. So again, similar to a strategy we saw before, it's a little bit of back and forth, right? And so started off, this is what we said, and we started this curiosity quest where it said, this sounds like a great idea, ready for the questions. And so again, now we can input those questions that students ask us, right? So we can have students volunteer, we put the question in, and you can kind of see where we went. So it said, I am curious about caffeine. Is it okay for me to have it? And so the curiosity quest led them down the path of whether caffeine is good for them or not, and made a suggestion, and then it asked a question to prompt some further thinking. And again, it could go back and forth until we tell them we're done, right? So I love this idea. We can change topics at any time. It'll just follow along with us, which I absolutely love, because we know we don't always stay on topic. Another idea here is digital breakout rooms. If anyone has ever kind of taken a dive into creating these, they can be quite tedious and difficult. But one thing that ChatGPT does is it does a wonderful job of coming up with things that we could put into a breakout room. So for example, I put into the prompt that I was creating an online escape room, which will run on an online presentation. Come up with 5 story ideas that tie into learning about the Underground Railroad for my students. Okay, so I gave it a kind of focus topic. And so it came up with 5 different kind of storylines that I could, that I could focus on. And so I just picked the abolitionist dilemma, and I rolled with that with ChatGPT. So I said, what items would you find in the abolitionist dilemma scenario? And then it came up with lots of different things that I might find within that. So then I could make each of these the rooms, right? So as I'm going, I can make a newspaper and pamphlet room. Maybe students have to find that. Maybe there's something about the fugitive slave ads. I could add that in a different room. But again, all these could be the things. And then from there, I asked it, what are some puzzles that would kind of tie into this, right? And so some of the puzzles, they said decoding secret messages. So it stated the puzzle and then the educational focus, what I would be doing with my students, or what the students would be doing. Quilt pattern matching. Again, lots of different ideas. Now, to make it all come together, I really recommend using something. There's a website out there called Genially. It is linked within the presentation sheet that has kind of pre-set up escape rooms that you can use as a template to put all this stuff into. So again, it's kind of using some resources out there outside of ChatGPT because you're pairing it up with another one, but it is really, really great. And so it's a huge lift if we're looking on doing something fun and creative with our, upper elementary, middle, and high school students that ties into the curriculum that we have to teach, right? So I love this idea, and it's incredibly engaging. Another idea is curiosity prompts. So I just said, give me some question prompts that will build my fourth graders' curiosity around topics that they'll be learning this year. So it wasn't specific to, any of the standards necessarily, but it knows what it is that students learn in fourth grade and was able to build me some questions that related in each of the content areas as well. So it just came back with this. It said, yep, can do that. Here's some questions in science that I could ask my students. And so think about this as like a question of the day, right? Or a focus question, just to get them thinking and to really, again, we're talking curiosity, build their curiosity and let them take the lead on some learning. And so science questions it gave me math questions, also gave me social studies and ELA questions. And again, I could, in science and technology, I could be very specific. I could say art, I could say, music. And so I could do those specials too. There's really no limit when it comes to what I can ask ChatGPT to do. So again, so many more in each of those categories, but with our limited time, we'll move into this next one, which is using AI to foster critical thinking. And again, I think this is one of the most essential skills that we need to build in our students. They all are, but really we need them to be critical thinkers so that they can problem solve in effective ways. And so using ChatGPT to help us with that heavy lift is an idea called alternative perspectives. And we know that students come to us with all different ideas and beliefs, but we always want them to see a different side and to see it fairly. So sometimes it's really nice to be able to offload the other side to ChatGPT. So let's say we're having a debate and we're asking our students how they feel about school uniforms. Maybe the majority of our class is saying that they don't like school uniforms. They want to get rid of them. Like, we need like to balance this out. So we can ask ChatGPT to be that other voice that says, well, actually, there are many benefits to wearing school uniforms, right? And so it can give us several reasons. So you can see them all listed there, from it's saying it promotes equality and reduces peer pressure. Again, all listed there. If we want more reasons than those 7, we could say, okay, can you give me 5 more reasons? Can you give me 10 more reasons? And it'll keep responding in ways that you're looking for. So again, we could either have students then take those ideas, and maybe somebody's on the fence, maybe they just don't have the support they need to support this different idea. But if we can give them a scaffold like this that helps give them the reasons why they're beneficial, it might convince them to fight for that and argue that, right? And we want that kind of that balance in our classroom where we can see both sides. And sometimes it does take a little lift, and ChatGPT is there to help you with that. Another idea here is alien antics. So I love this. This is also a very creative idea on how to use ChatGPT, but we're asking it to pretend to be an alien from another planet that has come to Earth to learn about, and you could fill it in with anything. So again, here's a prompt up here. So you just fill that into what you need. But we set forces in motion, all right? And so it says, ask students questions that you'll answer to get them to understand more. So again, it started that conversation. We'd be putting these questions in, the responses to these questions in from our students. So things like, it said, greetings, young Earthlings. I come from distant planets. Your planet is so interesting. I have some questions that I hope you can help me understand. And so, why do things fall down and not up? And then explains on his planet, or its planet, things tend to just float. So why do things get pulled down? And again, getting students to really do deeper level thinking, playing this kind of creative role of this person who has never been to planet Earth. And again, we could make it do whatever we wish. We could have it, we'll answer those questions. It'll ask us some more questions. And again, back and forth again until we say we're done. So I love that creative spin on it. Also, for those of you that like playing games in your classroom, this is a wonderful one, Apples to Apples. And there is a prompt, again, over here if you're interested in knowing more. And so what I love about this is that it allows you to, whatever it is you're teaching, it will come up with both cards, so the term cards and then the description cards. So I just asked ChatGPT to generate a set of cards similar to Apples that can teach my students about photosynthesis. So it did that, and it came up with, it said, you can put these description cards on green cards, the term cards on blue cards. It really laid everything out really nicely for me. Maybe I wasn't familiar with the game before, but I can ask ChatGPT to help me out with it. It gives a great description. And then from there, it kind of it gave me 7 and 7 of each. Now, we know that we probably want more, maybe we want more term cards than that, right? Or maybe we want more description cards than that. We can tell ChatGPT the specific number that we want, and it'll generate it accordingly. So here is what it is about photosynthesis. Again, all we have to do now is put those onto cards and cut them up, and our game is just about ready to be played. Now, it also gives some directions for students. We can tell our students on how to play the game. It doesn't stop. It just, whatever we ask it, it will produce. And I really, really, really think it's incredible. It's such a time saver. And again, a great creative and critical thinking way to use ChatGPT. We can see again those directions that it gave us. If you do click on this link here, it's going to show you, I believe the example there is on rocks, and so and rock formation. So check that one out. There's a lot of that is already plug and play if you're like a 3rd through 5th grade teacher learning about the rock cycle, and rocks in general. That's a great resource you can just print off and use. So, but again, also a prompt there if you just to copy and paste. I also love this idea of role playing. Okay, similar to some we've heard, but maybe we want our class to think of the perspective of something that can't really talk, right? And so let's talk about photosynthesis. We're kind of carrying that theme through. My class of 9th graders is learning about photosynthesis. I want you to engage in a chat with them by pretending to be a leaf. Now we know a leaf can't talk, but until ChatGPT, now it can. And so we can have it respond in an appropriate voice, using phrases and words that a leaf might use. Okay, so imagine this. There's Larry, our friendly neighborhood leaf, is chatting with us all of a sudden, and we can ask it specific questions about photosynthesis, and it'll give us an answer from the leaf point of view. And I think that's, again, really gets them thinking critically, creatively about what it's like. So, so again, you could read through all of those as you, when you have time, and try it out. I really, really, really hope at the very least, you just jump into ChatGPT and give it a try after we're done with today's session, or when you have an extra minute or two. Another thing that we can do is 2 truths, 1 lie. Again, a fun game that kids like to play. Which are the which ones are the facts? Which one is the non-fact? And I can be very specific on what I'm looking for when I ask that in the prompt to ChatGPT. So I can say generate 2 facts and 1 non-fact about magnetism. Make it challenging for my students to figure out the facts from the non-fact. Now, what I see here is, so it's telling me the fact, and the non-fact. I would just take those away, those words, and then put those maybe on cards, and then maybe ask for several more, and then have students decide in sets which ones are the facts, which ones are the non-facts. It really will kind of force them to maybe do a little bit of research to find out the answer of which one is true, which ones are true, and which one is not. And again, that's why I love this idea here too. And again, the students it's engaging. Students really like to play, anytime we can gamify anything. This other idea we have here is AI invention. And so what this is, let's just say we want to do something bigger, maybe it's a project that you want to work on with our students, and it's centered around an issue that matters to them. Maybe it's relevant to them. So here's an example. Some students in our school are having trouble staying quiet during silent reading time. All of us are like, what are 3 solutions to this problem with possible prototypes to solve this problem? So I love setting it up this way, right? Because maybe this is something that a student has come to us with. There's a problem going on. They want us to help them solve it. We could turn it over to ChatGPT and come up with some actual things that could be a real solution. So things like silence monitors. It walks through what that would look like, what the prototype might look like. Interactive silent reading app, right? And so personal reading booths, right? All these things, some of these we could do with cardboard, others we'd have to do on technology. But again, just had then asking students, which prototype would you like to build and why? Or maybe we're not even building it, we're just having a discussion around it. Which one do you think would be most effective and why? And so lots of ways we can spin this. But again, all we have to do is prompt ChatGPT to give us something on that topic, and it will give us something that we could likely use, which is, again, really powerful. This is another favorite of mine. It's called Rank the Writing. And so we can tell or ask ChatGPT to give us some samples of writing, and we can give a range. Maybe we just want, one that's not good, one that's on level, and one that's above level, right? And so below, on, and above. And we could have it do that. We could have it do 5, and I believe that's what you're going to see here. There's 5 of them that I think I put in. I think I put 5 on this one. But what I did is I said, these are 2nd graders, so make sure it's 2nd grade level appropriate. Make the errors and flaws that are typical in this sort of work. And what it did is it generated several pieces of work, and you could kind of read them there. And again, you put in the grade level, you put in exactly what you're looking for, it will give you something that you could work with. And so then having students, rank these and why. And I could say, and this one's a little bit obvious, maybe not for second graders, but you can kind of see sometimes students think when there's more words, it's going to be better. And we could tell ChatGPT not to do that, like make it so it's the less words because it's maybe they're a more efficient writer, right? So we can work with ChatGPT to make it do what we want. But again, having them put them in order and then asking the big question, why? Why did you rank them that way? So another great strategy that we can use, and there is also a prompt up there for you. So if you're looking to use this one, feel free to click on that prompt up there when you're into the slides, and you can try that out for yourself. And this last one here, I believe is the last one, is probably one that I think answers so many questions out there. Like, how do we get students to utilize something like ChatGPT AI to benefit them, make them a better learner, right? And I think this is a great way to do it. We know students are going to, when they have to write a paper, they're going to likely at some point in their educational career, they're going to say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a paper on fill in the blank. We can't control that really. Because if they don't do it at school, they're likely going to do it at home. And so with that in mind, we can challenge them to have them produce a piece of work through chat, invite them to use ChatGPT to create a piece of work, right? If it's a writing piece, whatever it may be, post a challenge, have them ChatGPT produce the work, and then have them during class time make it better. Have them write out ways right in front of you to make that piece of writing or that work better. Because there's always a way to make something better. And ChatGPT is not perfect. It's come a long way, even in short lifespan so far, but it's still not perfect. It's not free from errors. And really, the human mind will always be better. And so getting your students to deeply think about what it is they're learning, this is a great strategy for that. And so I love that one, and you could really use that across the boards, any subject area at any grade level. And it is going back to the old-fashioned way of using our brains the way we should be doing modern day, right? So use that strategy if you're wondering how you can use ChatGPT in a way that's still getting students to do the heavy lifting. All these strategies you see here that's everything. We got through a lot today in a very short amount of time. And so feel free, again, there's a lot here and a lot we covered, but I wanted to fill your 30 minutes with all the good stuff. If you have any questions, I am always an email away. You can email me. You probably feel like this, right? It's like mind blown, but right next to that teacher there, just kind of helping him along, is the ChatGPT button. I dare you, I dare you to click on it. Try it out. It's really simple. You just start, you open it up, you start a little login, and then you type in whatever it is you're looking for. So it's right there for you. Just try it out. I know you'll find ways to make it useful in your classroom or at the very least in your home life. It's just wonderful for making things, just being more efficient as a human. And also, I have to say, we do PD all the time. We're very fortunate that we get to work with teachers every day. So we do so much here at Van Andel Institute for Education. If there's something that your school district is looking at doing or focusing on, we are here to help you. We want to one thing we always do is we will definitely bring the fun. We like making learning fun. We like to immerse you in the stuff your students are going to be doing, and we like to make you feel validated. As I said, we can't do this job without you. So reach out to me if you're interested in us helping you or your district out. Put us in touch with an admin at your school. We'd love to make that connection so that we can come and see you. So thank you for the work you do. Thank you for being awesome. We hope that you join us again. Our next webinar is coming up on November 6th, Beyond Punishment, Restorative Strategies for Student Success. And so that's a webinar coming up. And then also, as you mentioned earlier, Science on the Grand, a wonderful conference. All the information is linked there. So feel free to click on that and get yourself registered for that. It's never too early to start thinking about summer fun for all of us teachers. And so with that, I just want to say thank you, everyone. And again, I am an email away. You can find my email up on that very first slide of our presentation and also on the hyperdoc that you accessed. I'm 3 minutes over my time and I value your time, so I'm going to end there, but please reach out if there's anything at all that you need. Thank you, everyone.